Welcome to the Superdry podcast. We're going to be focusing on some of the topics covered in the Future, Engage, Deliver leadership program. Imagine how many conversations you have in a typical day at work. It might be 50, 100, 200 even. And as a leader, the conversations you have are the main tool you have to have an impact on the people around you. Yet how often do we ever stop and think about how effective these conversations have been? In the program, we discussed the difference between how conversations look when we're in manager mode versus when we're truly in leader mode. We deduced that in manager mode, they're often very transactional, functional, and to the point. Often we're talking task, talking about the here and now, and more likely focused on the short term. But when we're in leader mode, we're often talking about bigger picture issues and tend to look further into the future. We're more likely to be pushing ourselves and others out of our comfort zones and won't accept just how things have always been around here. When having these bigger conversations, we looked at the different stages that they tend to go through and how we can make sure we're being as effective as possible. So the first stage we looked at is the conversation we tend to have with ourselves. The things that you felt were important in this conversation were making sure that you were 100% clear on what you wanted from this conversation. Ensuring that you were at your best before going in, especially if you're going to make a really big request of someone else. Ensuring you got all the facts, all the information that you might need. And thinking about the other person and how might they react to what you need from them. And then the more obvious logistical points about having the right amount of time and having the conversation in the right location. The next stage we looked at was about making big requests of other people. This is when you're asking someone to do something outside of their normal remit, something that will likely be a stretch. And the things that you felt important here were thinking about what's in it for them, not just looking at your own agenda. Letting them know why you chose them, why they're the right person for the job. Ensuring that they know exactly how important whatever it is you're asking of them is. How is it tied to the bigger picture or to the future that you're trying to create? And how will it help move them towards their desired future? You know when you've been on the receiving end of a big request, when you leave the room feeling equal measures excited, but also terrified. So next we looked at the conversations that we have to ensure we're maximising the possibility of success. The things that you felt vital here were ensuring that they were absolutely clear on what was being asked. Maybe even getting them to repeat it back to you to be 100% sure. Checking that they were comfortable with the request and asking if they needed any further support from you. Looking at their current workload and reprioritising if necessary. Having really clear timeframes, including regular catch-ups and deadlines. And having them leave feeling that whatever it is you've asked of them is absolutely achievable. Next, we looked at the conversations around recognising achievement when things are going according to plan, and also how vital it is to hold people to account if they're not, and how failure to do either of these things often results in a loss of momentum or sloppy results. And we also talked about the importance of having a full wrap-up conversation after any project, not only to look at the results, but to ask the individual, how was it from your perspective? What did you learn, and what would you do differently next time? Conversations may be happening countless times a day, but sometimes spending some time planning and really thinking about them could be the most purposeful time you spend all month.